All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. This is
Hello.
Jessica and Oscar. Give it a second to go live. Let me see if we're on YouTube. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, everything hurts, man.
Yeah. Where are you at now in the world?
I am back in Tennessee.
Do you think, are you switching, sea level a lot? Could that have something to do with, inflammation?
I don't think so. One thing I'm glad is that I got sick in Arizona before I came here so that I wouldn't be like, it's Tennessee. But I have been devouring Gene Keys, and by that I mean Mark's been devouring Gene Keys. And you know much about it?
I know, I haven't studied it, I haven't read the book, but I understand it as, a contemplative tool. And a bit about, the different sequences, like the Venus and the Pearl and kind of how those get navigated.
Okay. Yeah, I want to get into that. I got all the books. So
Amazing. At this point, you might know more than me, but I love talking about it.
So it when you search, hi guys, when you search your Gene Keys, it says what you came here for, your life, what you came here to do, and what you came here to learn.
Yeah, to me, they're basically, I use them the same way I would an astrology chart. So I recognizing that the human is the entire gene key. Here's a map for you to use. The same way when you have Buddhist monks and they're giving people oh my God, what are those called? What's the sound of one hand clapping? And different people get different, what are those called? Does anyone remember what those are called? Buddhist, there's a word. What are they called?
Anything about Buddhism?
I know, it's stuck there, but if there was a monk teaching a class of people, they're trying to get everyone on the road. Some people are off the road by 5 feet. Thank you. Some people are off the road by 6 feet the other direction. So everyone's getting a different message, but it's all the same shit. That's I try not to get hung up on the tool, but it was extremely beneficial, especially the Venus sequence as it shows the different, I think it's from 0 to 7 and then 7 to 14, 14 and up are the different spheres there. And reading those, it's interestingly very reflective, at least for me, of what I went through at those ages.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. My first one is the what I came here to do or whatever is the 55th gene sequence.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much stuff in the book specifically about, I don't know if this is the sequence that we are transmuting collectively right now or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a lot of stuff about the actual mutation of our genes.
Yeah.
And, so that made me think about this. What is this? Oh, that's your microphone thing has started to take on the shape of a yeah. I looked away and I came back and was like, is some sort of being.
I would love if I had a parrot on my knee right now.
Oscar it.
Oscar can manifest as a parrot if he wants to. Does not want to.
No, damn.
He's doing armchairing where he sits back in a lazy boy. He armchairs.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
He's just like a dad.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Gene Keys.
Hopefully today is not going to be too bad of a brain fog day. I did a couple readings and had to cancel the last one because I can do it, but it hurts. I don't know how to describe it. It's like tapping my intuition hurts. If somebody has a problem and wants me to work through the problem, but if I have to dig into my intuition, it hurts. I don't even know how to describe it. is extremely draining, and then like the muscle hurts out. Have you had that before?
Dude, I booked 4 appointments a little too close together, like, it was manageable, but I had 4, like, fairly back to back, and I was dead yesterday. I was like, "Oh, I died. Great."
I'm
Yeah.
have limitations in that. So this is definitely I'm taking all this stuff now as like, all right, slow down, okie dokie.
Mhm. Pace
Uh,
yourself.
yeah, but it is pretty crazy. So do you guys have any questions of Jessica and Oscar? People loved this episode. Jessica and the parrot.
Mhm.
Um, it's always a little slow. Nobody wants to be the first one to ask a question. By the end, it's like they're like coming in.
Yeah, all good. He said he's at the edge of his seat, so he's been unbelievably condescending lately, so please don't be offended, and I'll try to reword. Probably won't do any direct channeling. Um, man, what it was your, life's work and purpose within the Gene Key?
Um, so
Just the city. I just wanted the superpowers.
the 55th is about like um leaving victimization and
Mhm,
moving into like taking complete responsibility for my life and um it's but that's like what humanity is moving into that gene key.
mhm.
So it's hold on.
Are you looking at yours? I'm gonna look at mine too then.
My deepest purpose in life is to manifest the gift of self-assurance. To realize my purpose, I have to transform the shadow of superficiality.
Mhm. That's fun.
But my life is deeply tied to a process of transformation that is gradually changing our whole planet. I never stand still for long. Your great gift is to roll with these times and love every minute of your emotional process. When I was reading through it, it was like, you should really enjoy the painful experiences as much as the fun experiences, which is already kind of how I lived my life. And what has been interesting about the last couple of years as I've had to come and like reprocess my trauma through the emotional space is my life philosophy has really been roll with the punches. So like a lot of the trauma I've experienced, I don't spend a lot of time like lamenting the trauma or and then so then I but then it was interesting to explore this spiritual bypassing thing where I was like, oh, am I not honoring my trauma, and
Mhm,
now I do take time to go, hey, that was trauma, hey, that hurt, hey, that affected me this way, but I still don't when something like traumatic happens, I don't throw my entire belief system out the window. I don't change my like entire view on the world. I
mhm.
like observe, but I just like I don't I think because of the way that my childhood, I just like don't expect the world to always be great all the time. I don't expect life to only dish out good things. I do recognize that after a long stretch of good things, I crave something to sharpen my horns on.
Yeah, I think I accidentally called in getting fired from my day job, so that's gonna be super fun. We'll see how that goes. I'm trying to backpedal a bit, but I may have pushed it may have pushed it into fruition.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I don't know.
Lately, like it talks a lot about being addicted to the drama. And if we do want to move forward
Mhm,
to this like more harmonious life, we have to admit first that we are addicted to the drama, which I absolutely know, especially if I'm coming out of a big like external enemy thing. I'm like, I'll pull another one in because I'm just like, love that being mad, which is like, that's the big collective vacuum that if y'all are really trying to push Trump out, you're gonna have to do something about that vacuum. Otherwise, you're gonna pull. If you've spent every fucking day of the last 4 years bitching about this dude, and you do somehow get him out, which is not what happens when you bitch about something for 4 years, but you're gonna create. You're probably gonna pull something closer to you to be that fucked up because we're addicted to it. And part of the fixing that is just going like, I'm addicted to this. And now that Mark and I were talking about, because we've had so much external stuff coming at us since we got together, it's like, this goes away, we're going to have to like sit there very, very carefully and make sure we don't do that to each other, because we've like been back to back fighting this stuff.
Yeah, that's what one of my favorite things I got from reality transurfing was that drop the importance.
Yep.
What an incredibly simple way to cut through the bullshit. You go, oh, this is becoming such a hard thing in my life because I'm focusing all of the importance on it.
Yep.
Put it down, you go, oh, like if I focus on the dynamic between me and my supervisor and the idea of getting possibly fired, I doubt I'll get fired, but I get worked up and agitated, and the second I drop the importance and go, I'm not gonna think about that when I'm on my deathbed, moving into the next whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Hi, Nora.
All right. Here's a big question.
Yeah, so they're very different. I mean, I guess there's like a pretty standard when I do the consult. I do those one to make sure that there's a vibe, because it's really strange to do this kind of reading just hopping in with someone that you haven't discussed it with. So when we start the reading, I'll have a bit of an idea of what the person wants to work through, be it somatic, be it beliefs, be it behavioral patterns. Then we kind of start with looking at what the secondary gain to that behavior is. So say someone believes that they're not good enough. Okay, holding that belief of I'm not good enough. One, it gives you an excuse not to try. Not trying keeps you safe. Feeling safe makes you comfortable. Feeling comfortable makes you feel love. So you've got I'm not good enough tied to love. So we follow that wiring. Just get that cognitively down. Then we move into a grounding meditation, or into, if anyone knows Byron Katie's The Work, it's like a super simple way to give you some neuroplasticity around a limiting belief. Once we have that established, we do that grounding meditation, align with each of those energy centers. And with people that are really used to doing those grounding meditations, if something comes up, we stop and take care of it right when it comes up. Otherwise, I like to wait to do the work, and when the person can feel both the downward energy current and the upward energy current, so that they're fully embodied. A lot of the time when we're working through something, if they start getting really heady, I'll feel them pull out. So we just take a moment, bring it back in. We find that belief or that somatic sensation, and we just start investigating it. And it's a super playful and creative experience where there's some leading questions for that person. We kind of feel into the texture of that sensation. If any symbols come out, like it could be a swirling gray mass in the heart chakra, or it could be a little demon holding on to their pelvic floor. Like how that manifests in the mind's eye is completely different for everyone. And then we just work with it, give it the room to have acceptance and fully get felt, and allow it to keep transforming. And by the end of it, the sensation is gone, or the belief, like at least we've explored the ability to let go of that belief. And there's a few other ways to kind of close up sessions. But this type of work is something that the person getting it needs to continue to maintain after. It's definitely not like a quick fix thing.
That's a very brain fog. That was a very in-depth answer. Mine are like, we do like a thing. Sometimes there's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if the symbolism, I think that I don't know what this question is pointing to about when I would have said something. I don't know if that's from a session or from a podcast, but say that there was something really blue in the sacral, we could pretty much guarantee that whatever that block is tied to the throat chakra. If we see something red in the heart chakra, we can pretty much guarantee it's tied to the root chakra.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Here's just some compliments. I had a big upgrade in my, here's Mark, everybody. I had a big upgrade in my channel right after talking to you and Oscar.
Yeah, he does that.
Some DMT.
Woo!
Saw that her youngest daughter is her. All right. Doesn't it look like a parrot?
Yeah, I thought that was a bird.
That's not a bird.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, he would say this to anyone, your purpose is what you make it.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you can use these tools like astrology, you can use these tools like the gene key to kind of have a map, but what you do with that is completely up to you.
I might have missed that. Dun, dun. I think it doesn't when you retract in YouTube. It doesn't retract in this app.
All good.
That's a good question.
Yeah, he's always told me that where I met him was the 8th dimension, but it's just a doorway. It's a doorway, just like LSD. I mean, it's a very high-tech doorway, but
well, there's an interesting thought. That's some shit I would say during an intuitive reading.
yeah.
I have thought about this, and I would be interested, Jessica, to get you or Oscar's opinion on this.
Mhm.
I think we struggle a little bit, even just like what Oscar just said about your purpose. We're coming out of this like old system where the answer is outside of you. Religion is outside of you. Your work is outside of you. And then even the process of like waking up is all of this asking oracles, what should I be doing? What is the right path? And there's something really off-putting to me when an oracle is, I hear a story of an oracle telling someone like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes there is like a lot of like my gift is like a bullshit meter. And so when people tell me what they want, I can like, I talked to someone yesterday that wanted help doing this career, and like it's fuzzy for me right now, but it's like, you don't want to do that career. I can hear that you don't want that. And so then we work through it. But if people are like, no, I definitely want it, I'm never like, no, I'm right and you're wrong. I'm an oracle, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think there is right path, wrong path. I don't think there is a purpose outside of what you desire to do. I think that like figuring out what you desire to do requires a significant amount of deprogramming. But there's something about doing readings that just kind of like lean into my intuition and have a big question mark for me that feels versus like actually untying a knot, and actually like helping someone like get untangled with like the slight use of my intuition rather than like, I don't mind being on the phone doing sessions if we're doing something.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like, and this might not be true, but this like impasse that we're at, or this like this death transformation, people feel stuck, and that's because you're supposed to be stuck, and we feel like we're sitting still, whatever. And sometimes it feels like that, like people are looking for an easy answer. They want to be told what to do. And here we are coming to find out that we are gods and that nobody else can tell you what to do. And that, so you're leaving the old system. And sometimes what I'm pulling on my intuition feels like somebody's trying to get me to give them an answer.
Yeah.
For what to do. And I don't know that that's true. I'm just like, as I'm trying to articulate that feeling, because I don't feel that way. When I see that a thing is about like codependency, I'm like jacked to get on the phone and like work through that.
Yeah. So, I mean, from some conversations you and I have had before, like there's like the self-sacrificing aspect of being is it investigative murder?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's kind of like that momentum behind possibly like subconsciously feeling like you should be able to give them this answer or help them. And that would be draining.
Yeah.
In general, because no, I do that too a lot. Just like when I feel like if I can see where someone could get to, and they're not getting there, I get guilty over like, I didn't fix it all in one thing. But you look at my gene key and up top is fixer for life's work. Very annoying to have that like tendency to wanna, and then I have my opinion over how well it's gone. But I think, are you doing a lot of like clearing, like really like ritualized, even if it's simple, clearing and shaking off anything you might have picked up from them or energy you might have lost?
That's not what it feels like.
Okay.
It feels very, it feels all within me and
Mhm.
my own wrestling with, I mean, if I'm honest, it's interesting because if I get on a call and they don't know what they want to talk about.
Mhm.
And sometimes people like call and they just want to talk to they don't have any 5D friends or whatever.
Mhm.
And so then I end up wrestling with feelings of like guilt that they're paying for this or whatever. And I've had to like work through that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people call and it's like they've booked this is funny, we're doing this right now, but they call and they've booked an hour and then they are just like, I just want to see what you have. I do think I don't like.
This is why I do consults.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the fact that you just said that.
Yeah.
About like,
Mhm.
yeah. There are times where, and it's not every time. Sometimes people say, I want to see what you got, and like their guides start yelling stuff in my ears and I have it.
Yeah.
In the times where that doesn't happen, I then start wrestling with almost like I'm expected to perform my intuition right now. I mean, like, and if I don't have anything to say, then like I'm gonna seem like I don't, or they're gonna be disappointed or whatever. It just like triggers this whole thing that's like my own shit.
Yeah.
So it has like caused me to like, okay, set boundaries. Like, what do you want to be doing? And it is like I quit doing readings for a while, and there were aspects of it I missed.
Yeah.
And then when I really get into it, it's like I don't want to do cards anymore. I can do cards, and when I had cards and people were like, I just want to see what's up, the cards would tell me what's up. I just don't know, I'm not like Karen Rontowski gifted at that.
Yeah.
I'm gifted at like untying knots. So like I knots.
You could even have like when they go to your site to get a reading, like an application form that screens them out if they're not for that. And if they're saying that they want something else and you know someone that could provide that service, you just give them a link.
Yeah, that's
like,
I changed it.
Yeah.
And this would just be right now because I am in this like I am definitely switching everything up inside of me so I think part of the reason that it like hurts is because the control panel is getting moved around and I can't just like tap this thing that I used to tap.
Yeah. When I do the consults, like sometimes before I even open the computer, I've got a green check mark to the right or a red X to the left. And if there's an X, I know that they're not for me to work with, and that's just Oscar.
Interesting. I've changed everything to coaching. I put on several places. If you're looking for a reading, go to Karen. And then I've like limited it to very few appointments. And then, I did this before. I took like a month off and then I came back kind of renewed. And so I think I'm just in this like other energy until January. So, Marion, are you talking about the episode with Jessica and Oscar, or are you talking about, people are also talking about Jessica had an episode on Ryan Singer's podcast, Me and Paranormal You. Okay. Good question.
She's just saying deep dive. I think like Scorpio season is just going to be like, we think we've like done a lot of purging. It's going to be a deep dive. He said that some people enjoy those and some people drown. So, I mean, I think it's very perspective. He kept pulling my attention towards that tanker off Venezuela. And I don't know if that means that anything's going to happen. I hope it doesn't. But just like the idea of like very deep ocean aspects of Scorpio. Let me just see. I'm not really letting him talk. Oh. He said it was just a lot of, like, really not awesome scenes, and he said, "War, what is it good for?" So, I think that it like, a personal level, I think if you keep yourself grounded, you'll probably be fine, but again, like he's always said, you have no real say over the narrative being told, you're just a co-author. So, for people preparing personally, just keep growing, just keep looking at your shit, keep being of service to those around you. Just be a bodhisattva. Everyone that's in this group is clearly doing the bodhisattva path. So just keep helping in any way you can. Don't empty your cup. And I mean, as far as the narrative of what's going to play out within like the states and stuff, I personally don't foresee it going well. And he keeps showing me disasters. So we'll see.
It's weirdly calm right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But just like all I see for 2021 is inside the earth, inside the body, inside. We got to figure out how to fly this plane from inside this plane, and we keep going. Okay, well, if that mountain would just get out of the way, and if that tree would just get out of the way, and if there just weren't clouds, and if there was no wind, and it's like, no, literally, you have to fly the plane from inside the plane, and that. Mm-hmm. Like we're just being pushed inside to figure that out.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah. Taking care of and nurturing that internal ecosystem, especially in the winter, right? Everything's going to be a bit slower. We don't need to push ourselves. He's just saying it's joyful. He just looks ecstatic. But I don't think no, okay. I was like tuned in to see if he'd tell me like anything about the sex, and he showed pink and then he showed blue and then he made it into an ice cream swirl.
Yeah. I don't think I think they've transcended gender.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Man, I have thought a lot about brain fog. No, I wouldn't. Well, kind of. I typically, when I disassociate, I'm not going, fuck, I need to get back. Can I get back? Can I get back? I need to get back. Can I get back? Which is what this is. It actually just feels like really heightened ADD.
Mm-hmm.
The brain fog is fine if I don't have any obligations. It just becomes like a meditative state for me where I can get a lot done in my internal space. Unfortunately, I'm overscheduled and almost always have someone in front of my face or something that I have to do. And so then I am like self-conscious about that. I can't make my brain engage in the third dimension. But for me, disassociation is really something that I like leave on purpose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And brain fog is, I can't find the control for it. And then once I am aware that it's happening, it almost gets worse, where I'm like, come back.
Oscar just showed dissociation of the person being in their body and then like the energetic body flipping outside, like being inverted above. And then brain fog, he was just showing like the thought river becoming really turbid. So like you can't really see where you're going, but you're swimming around in thought river and it's like, well, which way's out? Which way? How do I get to that stream? But the water's really cloudy.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So many people have brain fog. So many people are dealing with this. It's a symptom of a million things right now. I think it's got something to do with this upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I always thought disassociation was a superpower to like get out of the third dimension when it's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. Like all of those like Buddhist sects and stuff say that we meditate so that we can prepare for like times that are really difficult. So being able to like calm and embody yourself and be like fully grounded in a situation like what's happening in the States and in the world right now, brain fog is like natural. It's also a symptom of being bit by ticks. But
what if the ticks are just like bringing us sweet brain fog? If one day we're like, "Ooh, what would I have done without brain fog?"
yeah, I really needed it during that time. Would have gone. I love the Jess's Tick Instagram page. Whoever's doing that.
Oh my God, who is that? The only person I could think is Charlie Loud.
It's genius.
It's there's one other person I thought it might be, but it's like next level humor.
He says, "Are they Polarians?" There's a lot of them. I mean, if you want to do, you can do. Can you ask your guides if they're Polarians? I mean, ew, ew, ew. He's such a jerk. He just put on like a weird robe and he goes, "We're all related."
Well,
Yeah.
I think Laura and I are actually going to do a podcast later about gene keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How and like what might block me? What might be my hangups that I need to get through, right? This is what drives me nuts about people that like really, really over identify with the astrology stuff is it almost keeps them stuck in patterns because they're holding really tightly to the good aspect, but they don't see the flip coin of like, okay, the game is about letting go. Here are your really significant tendencies. You can drop the importance.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not meant to be your identity. It's meant to be a map for things that you can't easily see.
Yeah, yeah.
When people ask me to do a reading about whether they should pursue, yeah, and listen, there's a lot of value in someone just helping you figure out what you want, which is definitely a conversation that I feel like I'm good at, like getting to, because a lot of times people are like, well, I want this. And I'm like, I can hear that they don't, or I can hear that they think they're supposed to want it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it really is like an interesting programming to get around. Is Oscar talking?
Yeah. He's okay. He's saying on more important news, we need to bring the dams down. So he's been really like pushing me to go back into the environmental field because with the way that I see everything is like on a very like, because I learned biology, I learned ecology. So the human system as like something with rivers, with emotional blocks. And you're blocking and you're killing the ecosystem as you build these blocks. And you're saying it's a reflection. So like as we work through these things, we also need to become passionate about restoring the environment in our local communities. Like if there are groups you can donate to that are looking to rehabilitate rivers and break dams down, like there's so many groups out there doing it, but people don't know and they don't care. Like they don't think to care, but when you acknowledge it as a reflection of your own internal ecosystem, especially in the place that you live, like I live in in Calgary and they've got this huge dam that's causing so many issues. And it's like, ugh, I'm excited for when that happens. But he really was pushing for me to say, we need to tear the dams down. No one get too crazy.
That's like where we're blocking emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reflective. You look at what we did to nature. We dammed it up, right?
Right.
We're like, I don't know. We've got that solar plexus. That's our center of empowerment, but we're kind of trying to pull power from all of these other centers, which is interesting, but we don't really need to because we've got that internal sun.
Yeah, fuck. That's a really good
yeah.
The pattern has been talking so much about it's that internal finding the controls from the inside. The pattern has been talking about like find the thing that you can't deal with in the world and fix it inside of yourself. So if in the world you see them not being able to see perspectives, like other people's perspective, go in and fix it inside of yourself. So like if in the world you see these dams are like fucking nature up, or you see other things are fucking nature up, find that chaos inside of yourself and heal that. And that's it'll start to reflect if enough of us are doing that.
Mm-hmm. When you're rocking back and forth, is it very root chakra or is it kind of sacral? Where is that like sensation coming from? If there's a sensation associated with it, and is there any emotions that come up for you when that tick happens?
Okay, we'll come back to that. So some of these are old. Yeah, okay, that might be the thing that I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah. Have you ever used body compass?
Used what?
Body compass. It's this technique of getting someone to like tune into their center, and then you get them to remember kind of like a memory that's not very comfortable. It doesn't need to be super traumatic. You do the body compass down the body up. It's a great way to get them to come to their own answers when they want you to give them one. You go, okay, like let's tune into this body compass and we'll see how you feel about it.
I'm realizing how much this is about me. No, you know what? I get self-conscious about what they want from me, and then I just try to perform, and I'm like, why am I like,
Mm-hmm.
like if someone comes into it, and I have no structure ever with anything, so that's all got to change.
Mm-hmm.
But
that right leg.
yeah, Jesus Christ. No, I feel like I'm like nervous, not nervous, but like they want something that feels like I don't know how to describe it. It's like, and it's a recent thing. I think it's like post brain fog, and then as things started to shift again, this is a fairly recent, like last couple week thing.
Are you feeling more embodied lately?
I don't know what I'm feeling, man.
Mm-hmm.
In my body, you mean?
Yeah, like in body. Like, are you feeling like you're, especially you've been talking about how like Mark coming in has like been like helping you with like connection a bit more.
Yeah.
A bit safer in your body, then you might have been having those physical and like kind of pushbacks, and you might have just not been hearing it. And now that the body's a bit more online, it could be sending some signals that weren't making it before, or not being heard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get really anxious if I'm not grounded.
The amount of readings I was doing without needing a rest or clearing energy or anything was like, yeah, that's interesting. But I think, all right. Jessica and Oscar were on, I still don't know what you're saying. So Jessica and Oscar were on the Patreon episode like 2 weeks ago on my podcast, on the Patreon episode. And then there was an episode with her and Oscar on Ryan's podcast called, what was it called? Something alien?
Yeah, Jessica and Oscar interview with an alien. I think it was early September.
Okay.
He's so funny. Oh my God, I love Ryan.
All right.
Yeah, they have one up near Alaska, didn't they? He says timelines, right? We're gonna get what we need, not what we want. He said lately he's been talking about fault lines and then thinking of like finding faults and like living on our faults, like just like attachment. I don't know. He's got a lot to say about living in stupid places, like next to rivers or on fault lines or near the ocean. So,
yeah, living near the ocean used to sound great to me. Now it feels.
Yeah. He just showed me Vancouver Island sinking, and then he showed me a tiny wave hitting Vancouver Island. So he doesn't really do the future because it can all happen.
Well, we're all flying this plane from inside of us. So
yeah.
Like, I think that's part of it as well with the readings. Keep circling back to my shit. Sometimes I think people are looking for fortune telling, which there are people who are gifted at that. I think that Karen Towski somehow can figure out the timeline you're most likely to be on.
Yeah.
But I only have the trajectory that you currently have downloaded. And by the end of the conversation, you could have like healed something and moved to a different one.
So what he had been showing me a lot, which would be like the big the big if we don't fix this shit is the Yellowstone Park. You think Yellowstone, solar plexus explosion, that power just destroying. And that's kind of what he's shown as like one of the big things that could happen if we don't get our shit together as a species. Especially energetically with that solar plexus, right? Because we're coming out of the age like where we're moving up into the heart. So the solar plexus has just been like massively misused. And that's where you get that codependency, right? One's burning way too big and the other one's this puny little flame that can't stand up for itself. And like noticing that we have autonomy over our energy centers is like the whole game that I try to teach. Is like, okay, as we're moving up or we're in your solar plexus, how does it feel? Notice your ability to rotate it whatever way you want. Notice your ability to slow it down. Okay, let's expand it out. And just like teaching people that they can have full autonomy over their system when they believe they can.
Are boundaries a mechanism of a healthy solar plexus?
Yep. So a lot of people seem to, when I'm working with certain individuals that have a belief that their boundaries are unkind, that's what I'm seeing a lot, is that they think that their boundaries are mean to others. When I feel into their energetic body or their emotional body, it's like sucked into the spine. So other people's emotions are kind of invading in. So owning that power and pushing it out, right? So a lot of the time we do envisions, and if people need assistance from their guides to get like a bubble going, sometimes we'll invite the earth up to give them like a bubble of support. Ooh, who's booping? Oh, I thought I heard a beep. Yeah, and then I try to get them to expand that solar plexus out to take over that bubble. And sometimes that involves like getting the heart out first, but just learning that you can expand all these things. The one that people have a lot of trouble with is the intuition. I've been seeing a lot of people with like interestingly crumpled in third eye centers. So like getting them to engage with the solar plexus to create heat, to expand the heart, to move that out. A lot of people's energy here has been dropped down into the throat. And I find that a lot with people that are kind of quote unquote bypassing, like they're really attached to their intuition. It's like oddly sunken down, almost like it's this weird little funnel in.
Interesting.
It's super strange. But again, this is all symbolism. So I try to remind people like we're working in the astral. You can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So like to own the autonomy over that emotional and energetic body.
I feel like so much of what we are like traversing right now is like all of the shadow aspects of empathy being cranked up to 10. So it's like part of the reason that people aren't setting boundaries is because they can hear what the person thinks they want. It's like we're like too tuned in to shit.
I'm gonna look up the name of a book I'm trying to remember. On the edge of fuck, that's the name of a song. One of these Buddhist teachers wrote a book recently that's all about learning your empathetic edge and like learning how to use compassion instead. I'll throw it up in the Patreon Facebook page or something. But it was incredible. She's been working with people dying for like 30 years. So she had to like learn how to like manage her energy and not fall into empathy.
Wow. Yeah, I think that would be good for the Soberish book club.
Mm-hmm. He just showed both Biden and Donald Trump, right? Like you got to remember, there's all these people still co-authoring. They haven't voted yet. Like it's being written right now. This is why he never will predict the future. He'll just show me a billion possible outcomes, and then okay, he's showing the ball again, where you take a ball and you put as like just an infinite number of holes around it. Each one you look through is an equally valid reality. He said he just showed hopefully Biden. Like I think everyone is with compassion in their hearts is pretty hopefully Biden. Not that it's like he's just said puppets. Like it doesn't. I wouldn't focus on that narrative too much.
January to me, the most important thing happening in January is that 7th dimensional download and the beginning of like the Earth taking over a lot of this work, which could literally just be Yellowstone going. But
No, Oscar just said the earth, and then he pointed to like human bodies. So I said I don't know, but I don't know about the inauguration, but like the 70 people that are already there are just going to start their work. They're just going to start working, and it's going to be very evident what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The election stuff is like,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting no matter what. It doesn't feel like people are going to get what they think they want because of the amount of attention they are paying into the thing that they don't want. It's just like not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Saying now.
No, he's just being crazy. He just showed me. He's just hanging over here, and he was like playing a board game by himself. He goes, "I hate Monopoly," and threw the. It's just games, right? He's been really like pushing me towards. It almost feels like a bypass, but I know it's not. But just like shoving me into that idea that this is the Bardo. So we've got the heaven and the hell realm, and the only thing to do when you're awake is to try to attempt to relieve suffering of others. Right? That's the game. And like whatever symbology or ideology or structure you have around that, recognizing that that's what it is. It's not, there's no like one true view of reality. There's just what you do with it. What is she saying?
Sounds like crown chakra stuff.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Anyone can talk with him anytime they want. Like I've said this again, he's not mine. I had one girl, and I don't think she'd mind me talking about this. We were doing a guide connect, and she was having some trouble, or I've kind of sensed into a bit of like anxiety because she was just in this dark place with nothing really coming. And Oscar was like, "Oh, I can go in and help." And I was just sitting at my laptop, and she goes, "There's a really bright light in here." And I was like, "Get out of there. You're disruptive." He ended up kind of coming in, but she was like, "Oh my God, was that him?" I was like, "Yeah, that's him." I have another few people that have had him chilling with them in the dream space. So,
all right, we got a couple more minutes with Jessica. I think Savannah's who we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Oscar's just saying, just make time to actually rock yourself and nurture yourself. So this is kind of a heavy one, but he said, so don't take it if it doesn't fit. He said, what were you missing when you were a child? Did you need to be rocked more? And like, if that's the case, then start doing that for yourself. Take some time and purposely do it.
Where can people find you to get whatever you offer?
Yeah. Zen.lasagna on Instagram. That's good. And just DM me. If I don't get back to you for a bit, it's because I'm taking a break. But I will get back.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's the one. Really good book. Joan Halifax is amazing.
All right.
Oh my God, I watched that episode. I just had so much fun listening to that conversation. How like wonderfully strange.
Mark just watched it. It would come in and like update every little bit. And at first it was like, yeah, he's like awake. And then by the end it was like,
yeah,
Jesus.
He's forgetting he's a co-author, right? He's like, I'm the author. It's like,
the phase I went through during my awakening, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there was multiple times in the last few years where I would have trips where I thought after, okay, I guess I have to fix the world. It's like, no. Yeah.
I think everybody goes through like, am I Jesus? Am I the devil phase?
Yeah. I think like my most fun trip when I got my ass just absolutely handed to me on acid, I was having a bad time anyway. And I looked in a mirror and I was like, I'm just going to love whatever comes up. And it was like, blah, like every horrible texture view, it just got engulfed. It was don't do that at home. Don't try that one at home. I had depression for 3 months after that. It's a hammer.
Savannah said, thank you. We have one last question. This is it.
Okay. What you can do is just do like a really grounding meditation and then start to breathe into that. And what I would suggest is to notice if it's expansive or contractive. If it's contractive, it's something you're going to want to get out of there. No like pressure or anything. Ask it if it's sinking or rising. Feel into if it's hot or cold. Really get like 3 points of contact on that sensation. Hold it in your mind's eye. Notice if there's a color. Keep breathing into it. Stay grounded. Notice if there's any symbols, textures coming up. And when they're coming up, it's nice to have another person present to ask these questions just because it's a easier dynamic where you get to relax. You can start asking, what is its job? Allow subconsciously a word, an answer, an image to come up. What is its purpose? And why is it there? And just keep asking questions. But that's why it's nice to have someone mirror for you, because you get to fully relax and the questions get to come. But as it starts to answer, notice it shift and change. Notice the sensation shift and change. See if it moves somewhere else in your body. Follow it to that spot. Keep going.
I love this. Yeah, we can do all of this work on ourselves. That's kind of the hope.
Yeah, and you can do it on your own, but like when you run into something that's really overwhelming, that's why we're tribal, right?
Right.
We're tribal, but we're treated like we're unintelligent at this particular moment, especially with like the healthcare system and everything. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I have a podcast. I'm so I do a podcast with is always just like, you gonna mention it? You should have me on. She transmuted like really bad schizophrenia, and that's like what she's here for, is to try to help. Like, she's very evidently, she calls it the schizophrenic revolution, where she wants to empower people that have that innate ability to just be wide open. She's incredible. You'd like.
I love it. All right, definitely. Everybody check out that podcast. All right, I got Aaron waiting. Thank you so much, Jessica and Oscar. Hope to have you on again soon.
Sweet. Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.
Hey, hi, hello.
Hello.
Hearts and a rainbow for you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is
oh my gosh, no worries at all.
A double stream because I didn't get anything done last week. All right, so switching gears a little bit, we've been here talking to Jessica and Oscar. So we'll let some questions come in. Did you watch the Kanye Rogan interview?
I haven't had the chance yet. So I really don't have an opinion on that. I do feel like Kanye is somebody who is oftentimes misunderstood, but I also kind of feel like he's equally maybe not the most grounded he could be. And so that he kind of is like his own worst enemy in that sense, because it's like he could probably better advocate for his visionary ideas if he maybe had other people surrounding him who like understood what he was tapping into more. But again, this is just my like very basic kind of intuitive assessment of that. So, you know, we'll see.
The Kardashians are where you want to wake up into?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I've really found that reality television is such a huge part of the collective awakening right now. And of course, the number one reason being that Trump himself is a reality TV show host before he was ever a politician.
Oh, shit.
And so we are in a reality TV show. So because of him, basically. And the point of that is so that we can understand ourselves as the creators of our own reality by being kind of subjected to his show running style.
When reality TV shows started, I was like, this is it. This is this thing. It's what reality felt like it was to me. But then it was so fucking scripted that like, I was like, why can't we get like actual, I'm a little voyeuristic, I think, but like, why can't we get actual cameras following people and people being their natural self? It's the wrong one. Okay. So have you watched one of these yet? This is just people who heard the episode.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your comments.
I'm really good at setting things up. So yeah, this is people have questions or comments about your episode or other things they want to hear from you on.
In terms of this Merkaba situation, so I'm personally not an expert in this. Drunvalo Melchizedek, in his book, Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, does have a meditation technique where you can work on your Merkaba field. I personally think that we're going to reach 5D consciousness before we have any kind of like physical pole shift. Like, I just don't see us repeating that same timeline of Atlantis. And I don't think it's going to require us to each individually be able to replicate our Merkaba field. I think it's just going to be where collectively we get into unity consciousness, and that as a result of that, we enter into a neutrality that kind of bypasses the need to have that kind of like pull the parachute out when you're jumping out of a plane kind of thing. Again, this is just my intuition around it. So like, I would just mostly focus on like doing shadow work and doing cultivating a spiritual practice. And if you want to do a Merkaba meditation as a part of that, then you can do that. But I think that like focusing more so on just whatever spiritual practice you are intuitively gravitating towards the most will then unfold naturally, like your process, because everyone's going to have a different process. And so I never want to say like, do X, Y, Z, you know what I mean? Because everybody's like, they're having their own unique ascension unfoldment. So like, I would just say like, go follow where you're being led in terms of like what spiritual practices that you are feeling called to.
The Merkaba thing feels almost involuntary. Like it's just like a product.
It has to do with the integration of the masculine and feminine polarity in your energy field. So if you're working on that on some level, then it'll just kind of like, it'll just start to happen on its own. I think, again, I could be wrong, but that's just kind of how I feel about it at this time.
Yeah. Here, Darden said, Jessica, she met Aaron. They met Aaron. Oh yeah, when people can't see, there's a name for that, when you can't see anything in your third eye.
Right. So not everybody. So that's like, well, for one thing, I would recommend if you want to work on opening your third eye more, consider trying to decalcify your pineal gland by freeing yourself of fluoride. So like using a fluoride-free toothpaste and things like that, and trying to avoid fluoridated water. And I would also just develop a meditation practice if you don't already do that. Now, creative visualization is like sometimes a part of different meditation. Like some people, it just doesn't come as naturally. And for those people who struggle with creative visualization, just having a regular practice where you try to do it can help start to get it going. Cause like, like for people who aren't like visual artists, like people who are visual artists tend to have an easier time opening their third eye. People who are musicians tend to have an easier time getting clairaudience. People who are like sensitive empaths are generally like clairsentient first. So like whatever you kind of have like a natural strength in is kind of where your like intuitive clair is going to be gravitating towards first. So in terms of imagination, like yeah, visualization is an important part of it, but like so is the feeling part of it. So like maybe if you can't see it, what would that feel like? If you can't feel it, what would be the sounds that you would hear? Like it's a full spectrum process. So might want to try to engage in different senses before your creative visualization. And yeah, that's just kind of what comes to mind in terms of that.
I had my last podcast, my podcast partner couldn't see anything in his. So if you said picture a tennis ball, he couldn't picture a tennis ball. And it made me, I didn't even know that was a thing. And then it made me be like, well, can I actually see it? I just know it, you know, like when I'm looking at something in my mind. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, it's one of those things where if you look at it too hard, then it's not there. Like the awareness of looking at it.
Well, and I think also, again, not to harp on the whole, like having a regular spiritual practice thing, but like when I first started developing my intuition, I was not very naturally clairvoyant at all. I mean, it's really only been due to having a regular meditation practice and just constantly engaging in that work of developing my third eye, of raising my vibration, of, you know, having all these different practices that I really unlocked that. And so what I really want to say is that, like, for anybody who wants to develop spiritually, discipline is like the number one thing that you need to cultivate, and having a regular, consistent practice. And of course that can evolve and change over time, but the more you do it, the better you'll get. And sometimes it might be slow going for a while, but then sometimes you'll like hit a really like great quantum leap, and you'll just like have like a huge upgrade in like your ability. Like I remember like a couple years ago, just all of a sudden, like my clairaudience like came on full throttle, and I started getting like names of like spirit, like just like passed on spirits and readings. Like they were just like full names were coming to me, and I was like, holy crap, like I couldn't do this like 2 years ago. So it's just like, you know, the more you work with it, the more it will unfold and evolve and expand. And you're constantly learning new symbols and new ways of working with your innate inner technology. So I would say don't get discouraged if you're not able to do things right away, because for me, like, it really has been just such a gradual unfoldment over time with consistent, diligent practice. So I believe anybody can do this. Obviously, some people might have a bit of a head start on certain things, or people might have certain strengths at the beginning versus other people, but like all of these abilities are our birthright. So it's just really a matter of taking the time to like show up for it every day, even if it's only like 10, 15 minutes per day. If you don't show up, then it won't happen, probably. You know, it's like learning any skill, which is a kind of a great equalizer, but it's also like, it can be frustrating, you know, when you want to be good at something right away. Like me right now, learning some new skills, I'm like, oh, I wish I could be good at it right away. But
it's a phase between passionately researching something and then trying it and not being good at it yet.
Yeah. And like, but then it just makes, when you work on it diligently and then you start to see the results, it kind of motivates you to keep going. So like for me, when I was developing my intuition, I spent about 2 years going to a weekly group of a mediumship development circle. And so I was practicing every week, and I had people who I was practicing with, and we were all kind of, you know, encouraging each other and seeing each other's progress and stuff. So that was like a great way for me to develop. And I know that there are people you can train with online with Zoom classes and stuff like that to do this kind of thing. If you are somebody who works better in a environment where it's more structured and you need people to like hold you accountable, because that's like definitely how I was in the beginning before I could like develop my own kind of independent practice. So
yeah, I think partially too, like we say like, oh, I can't do that. And then it becomes our identity that we're someone who can't do that. And when it comes with these superpowers, they're constantly coming in. Some like the ones we develop first are just closer to our natural talents, but you can like download them and like, they're senses. They're not even powers, kind of like keeping spit in your mouth. They're just like seeing smelling, tasting, but in the higher dimension. So they're constantly coming in. So it's not, but it is what I was trying to articulate is like, if you look at it too hard to try to make it.
There is such a thing as like straining your third eye, because they are inherently receptive.
Right.
Like psychic ability is a receptive state, which is why meditation is so important. Yet again, I'm going to harp on this the entire time. Meditation is a state of stillness, of yin, of receptivity. Like there are some active meditations, but like generally speaking, like when you're in a state of meditation, you're in a receptive state. That's why the more you meditate, just a natural byproduct of that is developing a heightened sensitivity and these abilities. So you shouldn't necessarily meditate to do that necessarily, because I think that there's a fine line between like, this is a whole other conversation, but I would just say like, it's good to just want to develop spiritually and I'll see where that takes you versus like, I want XYZ powers.
Yeah.
Because what I will also say, like with great power comes great responsibility. And the more you develop spiritually, the more spiritual power you gain, the more spiritual responsibility you take on. And it's important to really be aware of that and recognize that and take that seriously, because it's important. It's important. I've seen what happens to people who sort of let the power get to their head, and it's not a pretty picture. So it's definitely good to be empowered, because we have had these things suppressed for many thousands of years at this point, it feels like. But at the same time, it's just important to keep that balance as to what that power really means in the greater context of like what we're experiencing right now, the ascension process. Aaron, what sound practices do you think of? Or wait, what do you think of sound practices, humming, chanting to help open the pineal gland? Do you find that effective? Actually, yes. So I practice mantras. And again, this is a very individual thing. So I don't necessarily say to people like you should do XYZ mantra or XYZ practice, but sound is very important because sound is the feminine. So, and light is the masculine. So like Tantra is like, the path of Tantra is exploring the interplay of light and sound metaphysically. And mantra is a huge part of Tantra. And I'm on a tantric path. So mantra is a big part of my practice. So yes, they can stimulate the pineal gland, especially if you recite mantras that are specifically associated with the pineal gland. Like Om itself is associated with the pineal gland. It's like obviously one of the most like universal mantras, but you know, there are people who have gained self-realization simply by chanting like Om. You know, it doesn't have to be like a huge long thing.
I died at a club called the Om.
Yeah. I mean, that's so powerful. Like Om is like the primordial sound of the universe. You know, it's like, so it is the Big Bang, you know, it is
Our floor.
That is epic.
I'm
into
it.
Mouth
and the Om. I omed at the mouth.
So I would just say if you're interested in pursuing sound, you know, definitely looking into different mantras but even just like singing songs that you love can be a great way to help process like your shadow work. So if you feel stuck with a shadow work situation and you feel like you can't get the energy out, just like kind of contemplate what song kind of feels like could be a key to unlock that, and just start like singing karaoke or singing along with it or whatever. And you can help dislodge stuff through that. Because ayahuasca sound is so important with ayahuasca. There are specific songs that these shamans have downloaded from the plant kingdom, and they are a huge part of the ceremonies, and they help guide the ceremonies. So music is the whole music thing is like going to be so huge in the coming years to help process the collective shadow work. So I would say if you're feeling called towards sound and chanting and music, just be open to where that leads you, because you'll find the right place for you in terms of what those practices will resonate with you the most.
Yeah, I feel like sound's gonna be a huge fucking deal. My thoughts on Kanye. I'm not like super educated on Kanye. The vibe I've gotten for the last few years was that he's going through an awakening. I don't think he was awake when he first. This is where Lacey and I debate a little bit. I don't think his avatar has been awake for very long. I think that when he was saying "I am God" in earlier stuff, he was like his higher self was talking through him. But a lot of musicians put out songs and their avatar doesn't actually know what they're talking about. And I think I'm glad that I wasn't crazy famous going through my awakening, because it's pretty messy. When you think about your awakening, you have some pretty crazy phases and layers of the onion, and I feel like we've seen a lot of those. I do think that sometimes when people go through the awakening, they get stuck on the idea. They get stuck because religious programming they start to experience it through religious programming, and I've seen some of that. But I don't have a ton of like intense thoughts about Kanye. I don't hate him or have all these like very negative thoughts about him. I see a lot of what he seems to be experiencing, a very intense awakening. That's my take on it, I guess.
Yes, actually, the vagus nerve is very important. And the heart chakra is definitely connected to the vagus nerve. Also, another way to tap into this that comes to mind is through shamanic drumming. And when you do shamanic drumming, you can enter into trance states in a similar way that sound, because again, it's the vibration. So shamanic drumming is another great way to utilize sound to do spiritual work and enter into trance states and explore sound through more of like the rhythm kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that is connected to the vagus nerve, because like the heart chakra, the heartbeat, and like the shamanic drumming is like very interconnected. Diet. What in terms of diet about what?
Might have been talking about developing your intuition.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Diet is so unique for every person. I really don't believe that, at least in the current time that we're in right now, that there's one diet that is best for a person, and that can also change over time. So like my friend Katie, she is an expert in warrior Ayurveda, and in Ayurveda, there are like 3 categories of like body type. And then from that, there are like subgroups that you can be divided into, and all of that taken into account, plus like your ancestral lineage, like what types of foods did your ancestors eat? Like your blood type is also a factor. Like there's so many different factors in what like, in what is like the best kind of diet for a person, that there is no like one diet for one person. Now, of course, like there are certain things that could be having a negative effect on you that you're eating that you maybe don't know you shouldn't be eating, that might make it more difficult for a person to tap into their intuition, not because it's directly impacting their intuition, but because it's impacting their energy levels, which then just kind of makes you like, lethargic or whatever. And you're not like,
I don't really know anyone who's like, my body thrives on sugar and like processed food,
yeah, there's that.
Board, things that don't. don't benefit any of us. But I was just talking about the blood type diet because
Yeah.
my body, if I could just eat meat with every meal, my body operates, my brain operates better. And I have
Yeah, O is like, I have the same thing. Like I have to eat meat, and every medium I know pretty much has a meat diet, because if you don't have protein, like a strong protein source, like obviously there are some mediums who are vegan and they have like a plant-based protein, but like by and large, like when you're doing intense spiritual work, like you go through protein faster. So it's important to like keep the protein content high.
yes, fat and my brain functioning too.
But yeah, I mean, but at the same time though, like at a certain point we do transcend the whole diet thing. And like there are, you know, agoris in India who just smoke cigarettes all day and like drink water. And they are, you know what I mean? Like there are people who just breathe and that's all they do. You know what I mean? So it's like at a certain level, consciousness, diet is a thing. Then at a certain level, you transcend that and you just like totally are operating on different levels. So it really just kind of depends on where you're at. And so just like, I would say just use your intuition in terms of what you're led to in terms of your diet, and just be open to that changing and evolving over time.
I'm really over the whole eating and shitting thing. It feels very, can we just be done with how inefficient every day we have to do both of those things?
I mean, I will say that as somebody who like hasn't really, who has been in isolation for way longer than just this year, let's put it that way. Food has been like my one thing that like brings me joy. So I will say I do love food. It's definitely one of the big reasons why I'm here on Earth. But you know, I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Is that how they got you here? They were like,
yes, they were like pizza.
Collective shadow, but you will be allowed to eat cheese. I would feel
except the cheese thing. It's funny you say cheese, because as soon as I started doing all the intense transmutation of the Earth grid back in April, my hair became allergic to cheese. So I haven't eaten cheese in 6 months because I'm afraid that I will have it happen again.
What happened?
Like I was eating cheese, like pizza or whatever, and like my entire scalp became inflamed and painful. And I saw my healer. She was like, have you been eating cheese? I'm like, yeah, I literally have eaten cheese my whole life. Like, I don't know what the fucking deal is. And she was just like, I want to try eliminating that. Of course, as soon as I did, it went down. And then I after like a week, I was like, maybe I can like have some pizza again. And then, it was like 4 days of like really intense inflammation in the back of my head. I had to go on like a whole organic shampoo. And anyway, so I have not tried cheese since then. And of course, like cheese is like one of my favorite foods. So I was really sad about it, but we'll see if I'll be able to rework cheese back into the diet. I'm hoping that it's like a temporary, like weird ascension thing and that it's not permanent. So
yeah, man.
Anywho,
gluten or cheese, and like gluten's fine. They make lots of fake like bread shit that's fine, but man, do I miss fucking cheese. Not fucking cheese. Anyway, yes, I find that when I get a new superpower, the other ones kind of mute for a minute while I figure out how to work it. My brain's a little foggy today. My kid's name.
I don't really have any experience with Lilith, so I can't say. But I would look into Claire Nocty's work, because she talks a bit about Lilith on her blog. She has a lot of great articles about the dark feminine, so I recommend that. No, I don't know. I actually have no idea what that is, so I'm sorry. I have no information on that.
Wow, I never heard of it. Maybe you have.
Yeah, so I'm actually allergic to alcohol. I have the same reaction. But I have always had a sensitive liver. I just didn't really realize I was allergic to alcohol until a some psychics were like, you can't metabolize this. I'm like, oh, that explains why like 2 drinks and I'm done. Like, I mean, also just as we get older, like we just become more sensitive in general, and liver is a big part of it. Because your liver is what processes toxins. And so if you're like doing a lot of shadow work, it's kind of going through your liver probably too, like in some level. So there could be a correlation there. I don't know. I'm not really a medical psychic medium, but.
There was a huge storm here last night. Did we talk about how everyone's dead? Did we?
We mentioned it, and I have thoughts.
Yeah. I was like, what did I want to talk to her about? There's like pictures of like Lindsey Graham's dead corpse hands and Mitch McConnell's dead face. Like, what are your thoughts?
So, Gigi Young has some really interesting work around like the dark occult. And I'm not saying that these people are specifically involved in that, because I don't have an opinion on these specific people as it pertains to that. But I think that this is just an important thing to kind of talk about, because it kind of represents what we're seeing manifested here. So in the dark occult, which is an inversion of the true spiritual path, which is the true spiritual path is, realizing yourself as the one creator, as yourself, experiencing it through your own individuated experience. The dark occult has to do with like your ego just basically annihilating you. It's kind of it's just like the inversion of what the true spiritual path is. And in the dark occult, this is what I'm talking about in terms of like people who get spiritual powers and then they let it go to their head kind of thing. These people do not have access to their own inner child. And as a result, they are unable to create. So they need children. And this is kind of why we see a lot of this satanic ritual abuse happen, because that is how they get that energy source. It's a vampirism. And then they use that to kind of gain control over, certain things, just as like a basic, explanation of this. When they are cut off from their supply, like any potential addict of something, there is a withdrawal here. And I could say for certain that we are transmuting deeply energy vampirism, just as like the ultimate root core issue of everything that we're experiencing here. And I have a very deep connection to like the energy of vampires specifically as one of my hooks into the collective shadow. So because this vampire template, we can call it vampire template, is being transmuted, it's like when, you take the blood away from a vampire and they start to like wither up and die or whatever, because they can't suck the blood, they can't get the life force anymore. And so there's an element of that happening on many different energetic levels. And I think that we're seeing it reflected in this literal decay of like the power structure, because they know that their sources are drying up on various different levels.
Holy shit.
Now, I don't know in these specific instances, like, Mike Pence and the Fly, all it's like, I'm not saying that Mike Pence knows about the dark occult and all these different things. Like I think a lot of these guys, I mean, I don't want to project what they know or what, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think that some people really are just clueless, and they just are like experiencing the symptoms of that without really knowing what's happening. Other people are probably more aware of that and are experiencing that on some level. So I'm not here to say who is aware and who's not aware, because ultimately it doesn't really fucking matter, like, but I will say that the vampire template is being transmuted. And so when you plug the leaks in terms of your energy leaks, like how empaths are plugging their energy leaks and they're regaining energy autonomy, there's no supply for the narcissistic person.
Right.
And then they have to face the facts here.
I think about this like when people talk about, the pedophiles and they're drinking the adrenal chrome and stuff. It's like, I don't know that that's happening in the third dimension or if this is a higher dimensional thing, but what definitely is happening is society has been being used as batteries to create reality for these people.
Yes, exactly.
Society is unplugging because we all have, we are healing our inner child and getting it off of the hamster wheel, creating their reality. We are unplugging. It is killing them because they exist off of our energy. So whether or not they're actually doing that, like obviously the pedophilia exists, but like all this like adrenochrome and shit, it's like, it's definitely an energy exchange that's been happening with us for our entire lives and them, and they are dying, they're gone already. And so that's like so much of what I see is like, we're able to see that because we now have the fifth dimensional perception. So we can see what's happening, which is that's a dead timeline. That's a zombie timeline walking around. And the only thing keeping it alive is you got a bunch of gods going, I wonder who's going to win the fucking election. I can't wait till this thing is fucking passed so it can die all the way. Like we're just like pouring energy into like, it's the only reason they exist right now.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it's such an expansive conversation. I would say that generally speaking, when there are things happening on an energy level, there is some sort of physical manifestation. I just don't really know exactly how that looks because I haven't really been drawn to go down that road in terms of that. Now, what I will say is back in April when I was doing a lot of transmuting of the Earth grid, like the day after like a really intense dream purge I had where I was like realizing that I was connected to all the Peru stuff. Like if you listen to the podcast that I just did on Soberish Community, that documentary Out of Shadows came out. And I would say that there is definitely some truth in that documentary. Now, I will say that some of these people are definitely like MAGA types. And I would say that I don't necessarily agree with the whole perspective. Like, I think that when you have a kind of like conservative Christian approach to understanding the dark occult, you are prone to misinterpreting a lot of what's happening here because you don't have the requisite occult experience in to be holistic about it. And so there's a lack of nuance. And so I would just say, if you feel called to watch it, like use discernment because it's not necessarily going to be 100% true, but I will say that I feel that there's a significance around the documentary. And I recommend it with that caveat. Yeah. And I also want to defend Lady Gaga's honor because they slander her in that documentary. And I find it to be rooted in this ignorance around what she's doing here. I consider her to be a galactic shaman. And I think that she's taken many hits for the collective. And I demand respect for Lady Gaga. But aside from that,
the Galactic Federation thanks you.
I mean, I just saw her show in Vegas last year, right before I went to Peru, and it was so clearly her whole like starseed awakening story. Like it was very whether or not she's like, I don't really know how woke she is or whatever, but like I felt like she was really channeling a lot of that. And I think that if you actually like understand what she's about, like you would know that she's like really working for like the light, if you will. So
yeah. I think a lot of this stuff is taking place, and I don't think Christians are the ones to call it because they have a lot of like
unprocessed shadow around that. Yeah.
In your own in your own house. All right. New Madrid is apparently a fault line going through the South and Midwest. I did not know about that.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know much about that. I will say, I don't know why fracking comes to mind. I don't know if there's fracking out there, but fracking does cause earthquakes.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, they're like literally decaying before our eyes. It's kind of crazy.
All right. Let's get a last few questions. My brain is not great today.
I had a Vietnamese coffee before this, so I'm like riding the high of that right now.
I had to cancel my last reading for the day and try to like take a nap. I'm just trying to let this, I've been not scheduling these and just doing them when I feel like in the right space, which is great when it's just me. But when I'm scheduling them with other people, it's a little bit of a challenge. But I'm just trying to let this brain fog lethargy thing do its work. It feels transformative, and so I'm trying not to be fatalistic.
Have you tried lion's mane mushroom?
Yeah, it makes me sick.
Really? Oh my gosh, bummer.
I've been doing it. I don't know if it just kills off so much of the Lyme, but I feel fucked up afterwards.
Well, I know this is a very extreme solution, but I do know someone who was cured from chronic Lyme through 9 ayahuasca sessions.
Jesus.
It took a little while, but
yeah,
they did get there. So I know it's possible. And there's somebody else who I know. I know Snake Channeler talks a lot about her recovery from chronic Lyme. So it is definitely possible. So don't.
It's permanent to me. I don't even know.
It's not permanent.
What it is, or my body. Like I'm just like, okay, I'll just relax a little bit. I'm in like a intense like shift for the next couple of months. So I'm just like I'm just letting it do its thing and observing it. And I'm sure I'll figure out a map from there. Interesting. I just got here. Is it going through Nashville?
I mean, geologic time, like my dad's a geologist. So my whole life I've just like been very aware of like geologic time and how it's like so different from like our human perspective of time. Like, you know, the San Andreas fault, like it could blow up in 2 seconds or it could be like 200 years from now.
Yeah.
Like it's all like, it's such the scale of it when it comes to like the earth, the way the earth experiences time is like so vastly different from us. So I'd say just like, you know, can't live in fear about it all.
The earth is going to do what she's going to do.
Yeah. It's a release of tension.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. She typically, it seems like, kind of just wipes us out every time there's a new civilization. And she's trying not to do that this time. So I feel safe. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Erin Shade Oracle, and I'm also on Twitter at Erin Shade. And if you're interested in booking a reading with me, you can go to my website, erinshade.com, and see what I offer, my different offerings like tarot and Akashic records and stuff. And if you resonate with me, you can reach out to me via email to schedule. Because I do this like I'm not full-time with readings right now. I have another job. And so it's kind of hard for me to like have a scheduler, but I do like to schedule just like manually with people. And I say, if you are resonance with me, because I'm not for everyone. Like I would say I'm for people who are in resonance with me, and then who are interested in like a major detox of their life, basically, an acceleration of their karma and their shadow work process. So, yeah. It's like I read a comment on the Sobers community where someone was like, I threw up right after I listened to the podcast. Was that you? And I was like,
my bad.
So it happens.
Or ayahuasca then. Maybe I just need nine sessions with you since I can't travel. All right. People loved that episode. It was really good.
I'm glad. I'm glad people found that entertaining. I've definitely been through some weird stuff on the awakening journey. So yeah, I mostly told it though because I feel like it basically is how I have formed my perception around like what's about to unfold here. Like I don't say these things just because I feel like it. Like I say these things because I viscerally have experienced like what I've seen happen. You know what I mean? So I don't take it lightly at all.
All right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've been it's been very internal, which is what I feel like is happening, is I'm just getting like shoved inside of myself so I can not figure out. I think this whole thing is an internal thing facing out, and we're so used to facing outside of ourselves for it.
I definitely feel like we're in between worlds right now. Like that vibe is just very strong. Like I'm definitely going through like a major like transition in my life. And like I've been even just last week had to go through a major like detox of something. And I've been having like full body chills for days, like nonstop. Just like, okay, here we go. Like, you know, it's just a kind of, it's an endless adventure of well, what will happen next. And just trying to keep the attitude of like the wanderer, because it's at a certain point, like we just have to kind of consistently remind ourselves to be in the present moment. Focus on that first and foremost.
Yeah, that's a big lesson I'm being forced to learn. That's actually not anything I've ever been good at.
Yeah, me either. I definitely am always a person who like wants to know everything that's about to happen and be in control. Me.
Yeah, I almost use spirituality as a way to not be in the present moment. I think a lot of us do that, and a lot of us are getting our asses handed to us because of it.
But ultimately, you know, like at the end of the day, the true spiritual path is that simple. Like it really is. Yeah. As simple as like Ram Dass, like be here now. Like you don't even need any other teaching. Like it really does come down to that. But easier said than done sometimes, of course.
Yeah. We were like, Mark and I were talking about like this deep sorrow that comes with the higher dimensional stuff. Like there's these like pockets of like deep sorrow. And the only thing that fixes it is being in the present moment. And it's like, oh God damn it. Now I have to come all the way back down to the moment and exist here. All right. Everyone says thank you. They're adding you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, take care. I'll see you next week. Erin will have you on again soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye.